let's read the scenario together. We're going to come up with our variables and our equations and then start doing some calculations. So we are a civil engineer who is overseeing a large interstate highway construction project that will connect the cities of Pittsburgh to Cincinnati. Construction began several months ago. So in the past, it already started. And approximately 87 miles of highway has already been completed. The total length of the highway that will be repaved is going to be 267 miles. You estimate that the new construction can proceed at the rate of 1/5 mile per day. Write an algebraic equation and expressions for your variables. So let's look at that. What do we think our two variables are? So are we talking about apples and oranges? What are we talking about? And anybody at home, you can unmute yourself, or you can always use the chat function to chime in, and people in the classroom, just raise your hand and share. What are we talking about? Tim?
Time and miles.
Time and miles, he says. I think that is fantastic. That is exactly correct. So let's be a little bit more specific with that, but exactly, X is going to represent the time, and we're not talking about seconds or minutes, but we're talking about days. So our unit is days. And our Y is going to be the distance of the highway. And that will be in terms of miles. I'll just make that even more a little specific. So the distance completed. And that's in terms of miles. Can everybody see that Zoom okay? All right, just chime in, anyone at home who's struggling. All right, so our equation here, if we're trying to find our distance, remember that'll be Y equals, we're trying to find how much has been, how much will be completed. So how much do we get done per day? It says 1/5 per day. So we'll have 1/5 times X, right? Per day is our time. So Y equals 1/5 mile times the amount of days. Plus, though, we already have how much completed? 87 miles. Good. So here's my equation. Okay, this is going to tell us how many miles are completed. So after working for one more day, we would have 1/5 plus the 87 miles. For 2 days, we'd plug in 2 and so forth. Okay, so let's practice solving some of these. And that's what I want us to do before we leave for lunch. We have about 5 minutes here. What I want us to do is finish this first page of figuring out how many miles will be completed in number 2, 10 days, 3, 50 days. So let's set up number 2 together. We have Y equals 1/5. And again, it's 10 days, and 10 is our X value. So times 10 plus 87. Now, what do I do here? Yes, go ahead. Perfect. We're going to multiply 1/5 by 10. If anyone needs help with that, remember we can always write 10 as 10 over 1. So that can become 10 over 5. Right? 1 times 10 is 10. 5 times 1 is 5. Bring down the plus 87. And then we can simplify that. So 10/5 is really 10 divided by 5, which is 2. And 2 plus 87 gives me 89. So answering complete sentence, that in 10 days, there will be 89 miles completed. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to let you guys try these other 2 before we head off to lunch. So number 3 says how many miles in 50 days. And then don't get tricked up with number 4. It says in 1 year. But remember, our time is days. So we have to use that little hint they gave us. How many days are in a year? 365. All right. So everybody try those. If anyone needs a calculator, let me know. If you have one, you can use that, of course.